Hi, this is Richard here. So today's video is about making homemade spinners. The homemade spinners, I'm going to call them bullet spinners, and it's because of the shape of the weight on them. Just going to show you my two new ones. I've got this new spinner here. It comes in the red and black pattern, and I've also got one in a black and blue pattern. The black and blue is a size 2, and the black and red one is a size 3. So I'm just going to show you a wee size comparison. So if you take a pen lid to the size of the actual spinner, it's a very similar size. Now this one is 15 grams. It's called a bullet spinner, is what I'm going to call it. It's because of the main body shape is shaped like a bullet. That makes it more aerodynamic. I find it goes through the air quicker. This is a size 3 spinner, but it's also 15 grams. The black and blue is a size 2 and it's 10 grams. Now, being the bullet shape, I find it's more aerodynamic, goes through the air quicker and better. Also, being that weight and also being a small spinner, it means it goes right to the bottom of the water a lot quicker. Now, in places that I've fished, you need to get into deep water, and having a lure or a spinner that can get to the bottom quick means you're missing all the small fish at the top and you get more of a chance of catching the bigger fish. But before I get into details of how I make my homemade spinners, I'm going to show you a video that I made a few years back and where it all started, when I started making my spinners. So I'm going to show you that now. In that video you'll see how I made my first spinners. They were a wee bit basic compared to now, but before I get into details and show you how I make my new spinners, I'm going to let you see this video first. Hi, this is Richard here. So today I'm going to start off the video with a big massive thank you to Stuart. As you've seen on my Facebook page and my Instagram page if you've been on it, the last week or so I've been making my own homemade spinners and stuff like that. That's all thanks to Stuart. Now Stuart sent me his own homemade spinners and they worked brilliant. You'll see a couple of them in this video later on. But he showed us step by step how to make them. He gave me a lot of advice, showed me where to get all the stuff, and he's given me a lot of help over the last couple of weeks and showed me how to make my own homemade spinners. So Stuart, I know you're watching, big massive thank you, it's really much appreciated, and thanks very much for the spinners and the lures that you sent us, it's really appreciated. So today's video is all about homemade spinners, so thanks to Stuart I've now made a few, as you've seen on my Instagram and Facebook page, and I've got a few fish. So today I'm going to show you how to make one and then use that spinner and hopefully catch. And then tomorrow, if everything goes to plan, I'm going to be meeting up with Aldo and George, and we're going to have a day down the river fishing. So tight lines and enjoy the video. So this is everything you're going to need in order, as you can see. Start off with the hook. You've got a bit of wire there for the main construction of the spinner. Then you've got your weight, and then you've got the other components as well. And this is the 3 tools you're going to need. You're going to need one for cutting the wire, pair of pliers, and then you're going to need these ones for doing the loop on the spinner. So first stage is you put the hook on and then you make the loop for the hook that you're using for the spinner. Next stage after that is you just add on the components in the order that you see. Once you do that, the next stage is just to make a loop at there. So you make the loop and then it's just a case of bending the metal over just so that nothing comes off. So once you've done the loop, It's just there in a case of cutting off the tag end. And that's that all done. So hopefully you found that helpful, and as you can see, it spins pretty well. Now it's just a case of go catch a fish. So this was 2 of the spinners that Stuart made for me, and they worked really well in the water, as you'll see in this one that we second. And this is the spinner I just made today, as you see. So unfortunately I didn't catch that day, so this is the next day at 6 AM in the morning. I decided to come down and get a few hours fishing before I met up with Aldo and George. So before I start fishing in the river, I always spend a good 10 minutes just looking at the water, see if I can see any features or see any fish rising. So today I thought I would use the Savage Gear Texas rig and the Carolina rig to see how I got on. Unfortunately, I didn't catch on this occasion. But it was still good to try something different for a change on the river. So after not catching, I decided to go back to the spinner that I made to see if I could catch anything on that. So after having a short break, and with the weather starting to change, I decided it was time to pack up and to head to go pick up Aldo and meet George. So I've used my underwater camera here, and I've slowed the footage down to 25%. Just coming into the screen at the top here now, you can see a small sea trout. And now if you keep a close eye at the top right of the screen, you'll see a sea trout now. It's nice to see them underwater like this and seeing them how they blend in. And this was later on in the day. First casting in. So it was at this point, unfortunately, my battery died on the camera and wasn't able to catch Adolf's fish on camera, but it was a nice sea trout that he caught. So it's been a brilliant few days fishing, and it was brilliant meeting up with Aldo and George. I hope you enjoyed this video. Till next time, tight lines, and thanks for watching. So as you've seen in that video, I was catching small sea trout, but what I noticed was later on, I started adding a bit of colour to one of my hooks on one of my spinners. I'm just going to show you that spinner now. So as you can see, with this spinner here, it's well used. And I added a bit of colour to the hook, and as you can see, there's not much yet left on it. The reason being is because I started catching a lot of fish on it. Now this is one of these lures where, on days where I was blanking, and you always go to your favourite lures. No matter how many lures you've got in your box, you always stick to that one favourite. And I'd always go back to this. And the reason I go back to it is because I started catching fish. And I started catching a lot of fish. So one of the things I noticed was, as soon as I added a bit of colour to the hook, I started catching more fish. Especially when it came to the sea trout. The sea trout just started getting bigger, bigger and bigger. Eventually I got my personal best at £10 2 ounce. Now that picture gives it no justice whatsoever. On that session, it was a quick session before work. I was just down there with my rod and my phone, so it's a quick picture. Weighed the fish as well, and I went back. And that was my personal best sea trout that I caught on my homemade spinner. Last year, I went back up the highlands, started making more spinners again, and the one thing that I noticed was the spinners with colour on the hook was getting a lot more bites, and I was landing a lot more fish. And the two main colours that I was catching more on was the red and black, and also the blue and black. Hence for why I've made my new spinners the colours. So I'm now going to talk you through how I make the spinners. As for things you're going to need to actually make the spinners to start with, you're going to need glue. So glue is one of the main things you're going to need. You're also going to need string. Now the best string that I use is the string that you get in the department where you go for getting all your fly material for fly fishing. If you go there, you'll get the right materials. When you're using the string, you're best having a device that you can use to put the string on. I forget what it's called, but I'll show you a picture of it. You've got your string, you've got your glue, you've got your hooks. You're also going to need tools to actually make the spinners. The main one you're probably going to need is jewellery pliers. Next one, you're going to need cutters, something to cut the wire. You're also going to need the pliers as well to hold the hook and stuff like that. So that's the three main ones you're going to need. You're also going to need something that's going to hold the hook in place. Now the thing that I use is a vise that is made for holding hooks for when you're fly tying. You can get one cheap, you don't need to go expensive on it, you just need something that's practical. As for the material you're going to need, I use a thing called squirrel tail. It's squirrel tail material, and once you've got your material, you're also going to need the parts for making your spinner. So I've laid them out here in order how you build it together. First thing you're going to do is, well, put the hook on the vise, you're going to wrap the string around it, put a wee bit of glue. That's going to create something for the fly material to grip onto when you add it. So next stage, you cut the correct amount that you need of the fly material, wrap the string around it, and then you keep applying it until you get the amount that you need on the hook. Last is add a bit of glue to it, and then lay it to dry. That will hold it in place, and it's never failed me so far. Next thing you're going to need is a split ring. Split ring is so you can change your hook. Because when I first started doing the spinners as you've seen in the video, I didn't put a split ring on, and it meant I had to replace the spinner each time I had to replace the hook. So the new design is I've put a split ring on it. Also added a bit of colour as you can see. So you've got your split ring. Next thing is the metal rod that's the main body of the spinner. You make a loop on that and then add your split ring onto the loop. That's going to be the bottom part of your spinner, obviously. Next is you're going to add on the rest of the material that you need for the spinner, as you can see now. Once you do that, the next bit you're going to need to do is make a loop so you can clip it on. As you can see, it's not perfect. I'm not the best at making the loop on the spinners, but it's practical and it does the job. As you can see, once you do that and you add the materials together, you can see it spins perfectly. As if I lift the weight up, you can see the split rings there, so it makes it easy to actually get the hook off if you need to replace it. But the good thing is, when you're retrieving the spinner in, it moves down and it hides the split ring, so it means that split ring isn't going to catch on weights. The size of hook that I use on these is a size 8 as well. And that's how I make my homemade spinners. But as you can see, it does the job and it's practical. As soon as you add a bit of colour on the hook, I'm catching a lot more fish, and the weight, being a small spinner, is ideal to the type of fishing that I do. Now, I go up the highlands and I'm fishing for trout, but the thing that I always find is if you're using a light spinner, you're catching a lot more smaller fish because the spinner doesn't get time to get down into deep water. Even if you give it time to sink, 9 times out of 10 when you're retrieving, you catch a small fish, which I was finding up the highlands the last video that I done. Now, being a size 3 and being a 15 gram, what I was finding is, not only is it because the shape of the lure is it going through the air a lot easier, you're getting a lot more distance because of the weight, but it's going through the water a lot quicker. It's going past the smaller fish, it's getting down to the bigger fish, and I was catching a lot bigger fish, as you've seen with the pictures of the sea trout. Now, with these spinners, I've tested it over the last few years. I was out on a kayak, trying it with the spinner, I was catching brownies on it. On the kayak, it was a brilliant experience, just catching the brownies on my homemade spinner. There's something about making something yourself and catching on it makes it 10 times a better experience. Not only that, I was also on a boat and I was catching perch. I've also caught pike on it, but unfortunately I don't have any footage of the pike I caught, because like most occasions when it comes to filming, the days you don't take your camera is the day you catch. So I don't have pictures of the pike that I caught on it, but I have caught pike on it, I've caught perch on it, and I've caught brownies on it. I caught them up the highlands last year. So with the spinners, definitely adding a wee bit of colour to the hook has made it 10 times better. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and that's how I make my homemade spinners. I'm calling them bullet spinners because of the shape of the weight on them. I like bullets that go through the air, like the bullet as well. They're wee lures, or wee spinners I should say, but I can't fault them. The way they go through the air, the way they go into the water, and they're catching the fish, that's the main thing. But there's something about making it yourself and catching on something you make yourself. It just makes it 10 times more enjoyable, I find. So I hope this video is helpful. Like I say, I'm no expert like I always say, it's just how I make them, and I hope by seeing this video it helps whoever's watching it to make their own spinners, because honestly, when you make it yourself and you go out and you catch on something you've made, it's a 10 times better experience. So this is how I make my homemade spinners. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Till next time, tight lines. Thanks for watching.